Hey guys, I'm Karlyn Borysenko with Decode the Left. This is an exclusive live stream over on my Substack, which is Karlyn, Karlyn .substack.com. And I appreciate everyone joining me, seeing everyone piling in. If you want to join me for future Substack live streams, make sure you are signed up. It is, of course, free to sign up for my Substack. The vast majority of my content is on Substack is completely free for everyone. But if you want to fund the work I'm doing and keep me 100% independent, because I am completely funded by people just like you, sign up on the Substack for $8 a month, $80 a year. It is a perfect day to sign up if you haven't yet, because we have a spy stream later tonight, starting around 6:45 tonight. And I promise you guys, the spy stream that we're doing tonight is going to be it's going to be chef's kiss. I always have a sense about these things. I don't always know if something's going to happen at a spy stream, but like when I identify a crazy one and I'm like, oh, this one's going to be real crazy, just trust me on this one. It's going to be real crazy. So we're doing Spy Stream tonight. We're also doing a live stream starting in about 45 minutes. We will be starting our live stream a little bit earlier than the 5 p.m. hour because the presentation that we're going to be watching actually starts directly at 5 p.m. And it is with one of our favorite socialists, Brian Bean. Brian Bean is a revolutionary socialist that just wrote a book about abolishing the police. He says the quiet part out loud all the time. We have Brian Bean on video talking about overthrowing the government on more than one occasion. So tune into the stream today. Come to Spy Stream later. It's going to be awesome. And then, of course, we do have a meeting, the first meeting with the volunteers for the Center of Left-Wing Studies tonight. Go to leftwingstudies.com, not .org, .com. They bought the .org and now they're making a little website against me, which is actually kind of funny and hilarious and exactly what I hope they would do. But anyway, if you want to volunteer for the Center for Left-Wing Studies, leftwingstudies.com. Click on the volunteer tab. That will get you into the meeting. If you can't make the meeting tonight, don't worry about it. We will be doing more in the future. All right, now that we've got kind of a critical mass of people, I want to just do a few thoughts on why it's important that I collect leftist propaganda in the form of zines, in the form of manifestos, in the forms of communiques, in the forms of flyers, in the forms of these small batch books that only come out from socialist book publishers. As you guys know, I have like a little bit of an obsession with collecting leftist propaganda. And I want to make sure people understand why this is, because this week is going to be an interesting week for me, because this week I'm going to be heading out to the West Coast. I will be going to multiple different locations on the West Coast. I'll be gone probably about a week and a half. I will be traveling to multiple secret locations. And one of the main reasons that I'm going out to the West Coast is not actually just to go to leftist events. It's not to go undercover, although I will be doing that, and it's going to be awesome. But one of the main reasons I'm going to the West Coast is I want to do a trip to collect leftist propaganda. And this has become one of the main things that I actually do undercover. One of the main things I do undercover is not just go to their presentations and try to record them and stuff like that. One of the main things I do is I collect the propaganda, the flyers, the pamphlets, the things they're handing out. I want to see what organizations are involved. I want to see what they're talking about. I want to see what ideas they're pushing. I want to see what they're investing money into print. Because it's not like it's a big investment. We're not talking about Soros money here, but I want to know what ideas they are distributing and what ideas they're talking about. And this is the fundamental difference between my approach to studying the far left and other people. Because people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, Karlyn, are we going to talk about Marx? Are we going to talk about Engels? Are we going to talk about Marcuse? Are we going to talk about Hegel? Are we going to talk about Derrida? Are we going to talk about the Frankfurt School? Are we going to talk about Gramsci? Are we going to talk about Fieri? Are we going to talk about Butler? Are we going to talk about Foucault or any of these philosophers that have influenced the far left? And I always say, no, probably not. We're probably not going to talk about those people. And it's not that I don't think that those people are important. It's not that I don't think the historical development of the philosophy of the left is important. I just think it's a deeply saturated area that has been studied ad nauseum. My approach to studying the far left has never been what happened 200 years ago, what happened 150 years ago, what happened 100 years ago. Like, I know kind of like the basic mise en scène. I know what happened. But I think what's going on today is actually much more important than what was going on 200 years ago. And that's not, again, it's not to say that it's not informative to look at those things. It is informative, but there are plenty of other people studying that. My methodology is all about what the left is doing today. Today, you have to I do is I collect queer zines, I collect queer books, I collect queer artifacts from out throughout history. One of the main reasons I'm going out to the West Coast is there are certain things that happened on the West Coast, specifically in San Francisco, hint, hint, that contributed to the development of this ideology, and I wanna go see them in person. I wanna actually see what are the bookstores in these areas selling? What pamphlets do these bookstores have up? What events are they having going on right now? What zines are they selling? Because zines are a very specific thing, like, we can always find zines when we know the name of the zine because zines exist, like, everywhere online. But if you don't know the name of the zine, you can't find the zine online. So a lot of times when you're looking at like radical revolutionary bookstores, they will have just free zines that you can take, and that allows you to know, okay, here's the name of the zine. Here's what they're printing, here's what their ideas are. Here are the ideas they want you reading, and then you can go find the stuff online and then you can go find their websites and stuff like that. So when I'm doing trips like this, I'm not just going undercover at events. Like, it's a very real thing. Like, I want to go to their bookstores. I want to see what authors they're pushing. I want to see how they have their shelves displayed. I want to see what are the prominent things, what are the less prominent things. I want to see the flyers that people in the community hang up. I take pictures of all those things. I take as much free shit as I can get. Not just because, every time you take free stuff from the left, it does cost them money, right? It's a very kind of like simple act, right? You take their stuff, you're costing them money. But it's also that I want to be able to catalog, like, here are the ideas that came out of the New York Anarchist Book Fair. Here are the ideas that I got on that table in the Boston Common. Here are the ideas that I'm getting from this location, that location, this location. And how do they overlap? And how are they different? Are there different ideas being spread on the East Coast than the West Coast? Are there different groups active on the East Coast than the West Coast? That sort of stuff. Collecting their propaganda is the only way we get access to this information. And so it's not just that I'm creating a library of terribly dystopian things, because I am creating a library of terribly dystopian things, and it's everything I ever hoped it would be. Maybe someday I'll have my own leftist museum. I certainly want to write a book someday about like the most prominent leftist zines and like analyzing them and doing a whole, timeline and evolution of that. But it's that this is the key for us to understanding what the left is doing right now and what the ideas are right now. See, here's the thing. The way academia works is there are thousands of academic journals. There are mostly little academic journals that basically get no submissions and no attention. But if you get a paper published in that academic journal, then you can get published in the newspaper and stuff like that. What a lot of people do with the left is they go back through the archive of insanity that is the academic journals and they say, look, this person published this paper in 1970 and that must be what they're doing today. Well, maybe not necessarily. Just because someone published a paper doesn't mean that paper is influential on the far left today. Just because someone put out a pamphlet doesn't mean that pamphlet is influential on the far left today. Just because someone wrote a book 50 years ago doesn't mean that book is influential on the far left today. The things that we know are influencing the far left are the things that show up in their bookstores, or the things that they're writing the zines about, or the things that they're holding presentations about, or they're holding meetings about, or things like that. If the left is not talking about the ideas from 50, 100, 200 years ago, then those ideas are not influential. And then you're just cherry picking things that align with the story that you want them to have. I want to know directly who is influencing the left today. Because as you all know, the left is not a hierarchical being. The left is a very flat type of organizational model. It is a decentralized organizational model. That means there's no one person that I can listen to that is going to tell me what the left cares about. There's no one leader activist that we can tune into to say, okay, here are the talking points of the left today. We can do that on the right very easily. We can look at Fox News, or we can look at Glenn Beck, or we can look at the Daily Wire, or we can look at The Blaze, or we can look at even like people like Steven Crowder. We can look at these people and know here are the talking points of the right. We look at like, people like, Dinesh D'Souza, or it used to be Dan Bongino before he went to the FBI, stuff like that. I could always tell where the right-leaning talking points were coming from on any given day because all of the influencers on the right say the same thing because unlike the left, the right is actually rather coordinated with each other. They really are. And I say that from experience. You know what topics you're supposed to talk about and you know what topics you're not. So the right, you can look at these media and you can say, okay, here are the talking points of the week. The White House obviously is another place for that. But on the left, you can't do that. You can't look at Haymarket books, let's say, and say, okay, here are the leftist talking points of the week, because not everyone listens to Haymarket books. Not everyone's involved in Haymarket books. You can't just go to Crime Think, even though we do reference Crime Think a lot, and we should, because it's deeply influential. But Crime Think is not the only source on the left. It's just one of many sources on the left. And so we have to constantly keep this in mind. It's not necessarily about, did the left publish something 50 years ago? It's about what is influencing the left today. Now, that thing that got published 50 years ago, that might be influencing the left today. And we're going to know that if it shows up in their bookstores and it's showing up in their zines and it's showing up in their talks and it's showing up in their propaganda in person. But it could also be that the left is far more influenced by something that was written 10 years ago than they are influenced by the thing that was written 50 years ago. And again, we're going to know that because the thing from 10 years ago is showing up everywhere. They're printing off the zines, they're handing it out. They want people to know this information. So that is one of the reasons that I focus so much on leftist propaganda. And that's one of the things we're going to be doing in the Center for Left-Wing Studies is we're going to be going through and archiving and analyzing a massive amount of the leftist propaganda that I've been collecting for years and that many of you have been collecting for years as well. And we're going to pick out the most important pieces and we're going to make sure there's some sort of timeline structure to it so that people can actually see here are the things that are influencing the far left. And it may be some of the things you think it is, and it may be some of the things you don't think it is. Like, remember, guys, the Communist Manifesto, when the Communist Manifesto was written, what, like 150 years ago or something like that, the Communist Manifesto was a pamphlet. It was a pamphlet. It's no different than what the left is doing today with pamphleting and zines and stuff like that. The Communist Manifesto was just like any other leftist zine that we might read today. Except that's the thing that happened to catch on, and that's the thing that happened to gain influence, and that's the thing that happened to explode everywhere. But it fundamentally started as a pamphlet. That's why we have to look at what they're producing now. We don't know what the next Communist Manifesto is going to be. We don't know if the next Communist Manifesto has already been written. And I wouldn't ever make the assumption that the left is adhering to something just because you've heard, by the way, I use the Communist Manifesto as an example an awful lot, but it's actually probably not so good that I do that because it doesn't even mean the left is influenced by that. It could be something else. It could be any number of other things. If you understand what people are reading, if you understand what ideas they're bringing into their ecosystem, then you're going to start to understand how they think. And if you don't understand what they're reading, like actually sitting down to take the time to like digest and like think about the information, holding book clubs on that thing, holding educational experiences on that thing, if you don't know what they're reading, you do not understand them. And I think that's a big challenge is a lot of people on the right, they think that because something was published on the left 50, 100, 200 years ago, that must mean that thing is deeply influential now. Sometimes it is. Marxist Capital is still very influential. They still read it. They still talk about it. They still do book clubs on it. They do educational stuff on it. Marxist Capital is probably, Das Kapital is probably more influential than the Communist Manifesto, if I'm being honest. I hear them talk about it way more. So it's not to say that things that were written a long time ago are never influential today. Sometimes they absolutely are. But it's also true to say that oftentimes what I see happen on the right is they cherry pick something because it makes a good story or makes a good narrative. And they say, here is the thing that's influencing the left. But if you actually listen to the left, they don't talk about that thing. They don't have meetings about that thing. They don't write books about that thing. They're not printing out zines about that thing. So it's basically just the right saying, no, guys, I promise, pinky swear, trust me, bro, this is deeply influential, when in fact there's no evidence that it's actually influencing the culture now. Saltwater Pearl says, I doubt it would come out of academia because academia makes its own language to be one, specific, and two, gatekeeping. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, a lot of the influential stuff that I see on the left, it comes out of anarchist websites. The zines come out of anarchist websites. The zines are all published on anarchist websites. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see what the left is creating today, what they're distributing today. And that's why I'm going to the West Coast, to go and see what is actually being distributed, to go and collect as much propaganda as I can, and to come back and to analyze that and to put that all in the Center for Left-Wing Studies so that we can have a sense of like what is driving leftist thought right now. So I just wanted to jump on, do a quick live stream, kind of explaining my philosophy of that. Now, if you want to support my trip out to the West Coast, and so many of you have signed up for the Substack lately, I'm really appreciative of it. I am completely funded by you guys. So if you want to support my trip to the West Coast, now is a great time to sign up for the Substack. That is Karlyn, Karlyn.substack.com. That will, of course, help fund my trip. You can also buy merch in the Red Menace Supply Company merch store. That's another great way to do it. You can send in super chats on the channel and all that stuff too. And I really appreciate everyone who's been doing that lately. You can also make a one-time gift over at decodetheleft.com/ I think it's support. You can find the support link over there. And of course, if you want to donate to the Center for Left Wing Studies directly, as if I don't have enough flipping donation links, right? But if you want to make a tax deductible gift to the Center for Left Wing Studies, and none of this goes into my pocket, by the way, like Center for Left Wing Studies, that is a pool of money that I use to actually I'm paying for technology to try to put together these archives. I'm paying for I will be buying books with the Center for Left Wing. That's actually probably if people are wondering what I'm using the donations for the Center for Left Wing Studies. I'm hoping on this trip out to the West Coast, I'm gonna buy a fuck ton of small batch printed books, and bring them back with me. Essentially, I did the same thing in New York. So essentially, let me show you. Actually, have one sitting right here. So when I went to to New York, I went to a queer bookstore and they had a bunch of just really small batch printed zines, just like these. These are about 15 to 20 bucks a pop, but you can't get these anywhere else. You can't get these. This is called Stonewall Was a Riot Against Police Rebellion. So this was actually being sold by a queer bookstore collective. I can only get this in New York at that queer bookstore collective. So my one of my hopes and one of the things I'm going to use money for the Center for Left Wing Studies is I want to collect this propaganda, and this is all going to go online in our zine archive and stuff like that. And so I'm trying to pick up stuff that I can't get anywhere else. If I can buy something on Amazon, I'm not going to take a trip out to the West Coast to buy that thing. But if I can only buy a small batch published thing in a bookstore in San Francisco or some other place because that's the only place they sell it because it's a socialist thing, I'm going to do that instead. So that's one of the things I'm spending the money on for the Center for Left Wing Studies. There's gonna be some other stuff too, but Center for Left Wing Studies is a tax deductible gift. It is a nonprofit, so you can head over to leftwingstudies.com and click on the give link if you want to do that as well. So I really do appreciate all that, and I love studying the propaganda. The propaganda is my favorite thing to do because it's just so fucking crazy. It's so crazy. This could be the next Communist Manifesto. We don't know. We don't know. But that's why I think it's important to study their propaganda. That's why I'm collecting their propaganda. That's why we will be analyzing it in the Center for Left Wing Studies. And so I just wanted to make sure people understood my methodology. People are saying, I've had all these requests lately to Karlyn, can you do a video about the Communist Manifesto? I'm like, no, I wrote a whole book about the Communist Manifesto, bro. Please don't make me do a book about about a video about it too. I want to focus on what's going on right now because I think that right now is what's the most important. And if people want to do historical analysis, God bless you, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So that's all I got, guys. I have to get ready for our stream. We will be starting a little bit earlier today over on YouTube, Rumble, X, or Kick, wherever you guys want to watch me. YouTube has the best chat. We will be watching a live socialist presentation today from Brian Bean, so you can find that. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting week. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon.